So, can anyone tell me what circumference means, or what the circumference of a circle is? Anyone heard of that before? Sandy? Yes, it is basically like the perimeter of a square or rectangle, but when we're talking about a circle, we call it the circumference, okay? All right, so the circumference is basically the distance around the circle. The circumference is the distance around a circle. Okay, so go ahead and draw a circle. Doesn't have to be perfect. All right, does anyone have any idea what this line across the circle is called? That goes from one end to the other. Okay?
Oh, can you remember what the name is?
Yeah, it is when we're talking about the Earth. Yeah. That's, I think, more talking about like a 3D shape or like a globe. But what about when we're just talking about the diameter of this 2D circle? Well, I just said it. It's called the diameter. Okay? So the distance across from one side to the other of the circle, that's the diameter. Okay? What about just half of the diameter? Does anyone know what that's called? Any? The radius. Good. So the radius is half of the diameter. Okay? The radius is half of the diameter. So that would mean the diameter is 2 times the radius, right? Does that make sense how I wrote that right here? 2 times the radius. Or the radius times 2. Okay? So what is the distance around a circle called? Circumference. What's the distance across the circle? And what's half of the diameter? Good. All right, so if we're trying to solve for the circumference, there are 2 formulas that they both work. It just depends on the information that you're given. So the first one, we multiply pi times, what do you think D stands for? Yeah. We're going to multiply pi times the diameter. Pi times the diameter. This is the symbol for pi. Okay? So if I were to write that out, for pi, we're going to use 3.14. If you were to type pi into your calculator, it would give you this really, really long decimal. Yeah, and it just keeps going. But for our purposes, we're going to just use 3.14. So it's 3.14 times the diameter. Okay? So if I were to give you a picture of a circle, and the diameter is labeled, all you have to do is take 3.14, multiply it by that number, and that would give you the circumference. Now there's another formula which still is used to find the circumference, but it's 2 times pi times r. What do you think r stands for?
Radius.
The radius. Why is it the same? Because the radius times 2 would give me the diameter. Yep, so it's exactly the same. This comes in handy if we're given the radius, so we can just plug that in. So this is 2 times, what was the value of pi? 3.14 times the radius. Okay? So either one of these formulas will work to find the circumference. It just depends on what information you're given. So if you're given the diameter, which one do you think you would use?
The first formula?
Pi times diameter. What if you're given the radius?
Pi times 2 times radius.
Yeah. But either one, I mean, if you're given the radius, you could just multiply it by 2, then just do that times pi. It's the same thing. Okay? All right? So let's just practice, depending on what we're given, let's make sure we can find, like if we're given the radius, let's make sure we can find the diameter. If we're given the diameter, let's make sure we can find the radius. So what if the radius equals 6? If the radius equals 6, then what's the diameter going to be? Why 12? Yeah, the radius times 2 gives us the diameter. What if the diameter is 8? How would I find the radius? I divide by 2 because the radius is half of the diameter. We good? Okay? So no matter which one you're given, you should be able to find the other one. Okay? What if the radius equals 18?
36.
How'd you get that? Multiply by 2. Yep. What if the diameter equals 20? What will the radius be? Yep. All right. You think you got that? I hope so. That's pretty easy. So on your test, it might give you a picture of a circle, and it might label the radius or label the diameter, but depending on which one you're given, you should be able to figure out the other one, right? I think so. All right, so let's actually try solving for the circumference of a circle. Okay, let me get another sheet of paper. Or you can flip if you have notebook paper. Okay, so what was one of the formulas to find circumference? Pi times diameter. What was the other one? The way we usually see that is, or we say 2 pi r. 2 times pi times the radius. But you know, because of the commutative property, that no matter what the order is, when you're multiplying, it's going to give you the same thing. Okay, so these are our 2 formulas we could use to find circumference. So you tell me, if on this example, it tells me the diameter equals 12 meters, and we're supposed to find the circumference. Okay? Which one should I use? The one on the left or the one on the right? This one? Yeah, because I'm given the diameter, so all I have to do is plug it in. So I'm going to rewrite it, because like I told you guys, rewriting these formulas is the best way to remember them. And now I'm going to substitute in the values that I'm going to be using. So what are we using for pi? 3.14. And what's my diameter? 12. Okay? And when I multiply those out, what should I get? I got 37.68 meters. Okay? Now, is it supposed to be, Michaela?
I thought it was supposed to be squared. Like you're right, the edge.
Why is it not squared, Abby?
It's a circle.
It's a circle.
Well, it doesn't matter that it's a circle. Why is it not squared? No?
It's round.
Because we're not solving for what?
Area.
We're not solving for area. This is the distance around the circle. Yeah, so we don't have to square it. We only square when we're solving for what? The area. Okay? I've had that question before, and that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. All right? Now, in this example, let's say the radius is 4 centimeters. Which one do you think we could use? Okay.
The second one.
We could use the one on the right. If we wanted to use the one on the left, what would we have to do first? I would have to find the diameter. And really, you do the extra step either way. It just depends on what you plug in. I'm going to use this one just for the sake of seeing both types. So it's 2 times pi times r. So 2 is still 2. I don't have to change that. What's my value for pi? 3.14. And my radius is 4. It's important that if you use this, you plug in what the radius is, not the diameter. Okay? Now, what might be easy is if you say, well, I could go ahead and do 2 times 4, which would give me 8 times 3.14, and now that's basically the same thing as if we just did this one. So either way, you'll get the same thing. And then if we multiply 8 times 3.14, what do we get? 25.12 what? Centimeters. Not squared. Finding circumference, or if a question asks you to find perimeter, those will be the only ones where you won't have to put that it's squared. But if it's looking for area, you will. Okay? Okay, how are we feeling about finding the circumference of a circle? I told you guys, it's really not bad. It's anything really with formulas that you just plug stuff in is not hard. The hard part is remembering the formulas. Jonathan, what's your question? That's fine. If you show your work, like what I showed you up there, that's what I want to see on your paper. If you show your work, that's okay. I told you guys that. Okay? Okay? We're gonna look at those in a minute. Okay? After we finish these notes, we're gonna go back and review the other stuff. Okay? And I'm gonna show you guys with finding the area of composite figures. I'm going to show y'all something that Miss Alling showed me a little bit ago that might be a little bit easier for you. Okay? But before we get into that, so we've looked at circumference, so now we need to look at finding the area of a circle. Okay? So the formula for the area of a circle is going to be pi times the radius squared. Pi times the radius squared. How is that different from the circumference one? Michaela?
Because when it's squared, then you have to, like, you have to multiply it, like, once you get your answer, you have to multiply it by itself.
Right. So it's not times 2, it's by itself. So if my radius was 4, if I'm finding the area, I would do 4 times 4, not 4 times 2. Okay? That's a very important distinction you need to make. And another thing to remember is that when we're solving for area, you always have to use the radius. Okay? With circumference, we could use either the diameter or the radius, but for area, you always have to plug in the radius. Okay? So make a note of that. Always use radius. So knowing that, if they give you the diameter, what do you have to do to solve the area? You have to change it, or you have to find the radius first. Are we all clear on that? Okay, Platten?
On the test, are we going to be doing like find the diameter or the radius, which one the only number of equals the circumference?
I don't think so, but that's a good question. You could do that if I gave it to you, because if you can do it one way, you should be able to solve for a variable, but I don't think you'll have to. You might in the future, in future classes, but I don't think on this test. Okay, so let's look at an example. All right, let's say they give you a radius of 8 millimeters, and they want you to find the area. Abe, what is the formula for the area of a circle? Abe? Abe? Well, you tell me. What is it? Right there. It says the area is equal to what? Area is equal to what, Summer? Pi times radius squared. Abe, what's the formula for the area of a circle? Good. All right. So what's my value for pi? 3.14. And what's my radius?
8 squared.
So it's going to be 8 squared. Okay? 8 times 8. Whenever you square a number, it's that number times itself. Okay? Michaela, what is 8 squared? 64. So then we would multiply 3.14 times 64, which would give me what, Raymond? 296 hundredths? Is that my final answer?
No, 200.9 squared. Millimeters squared.
Thank you. Good. And why are we squaring this?
Because that was the original area.
We're finding the area. Okay. Sandy?
Does it matter if you like, what if you did 3.14 times 8 squared that?
Let's see.
It wouldn't because you know you don't get 600.
Nope. According to what is that important? What do we have to do, or why doesn't that work? You have to follow, order of operations. I feel like it should work, but it doesn't. That's why order of operations is so important. You've got to do, if there's parentheses, do that first, but then look for exponents. There's an exponent here, so we've got to do that first. And I hope that you catch that on your test and don't make that mistake.
I know one thing I'm not just saying wrong. I might put the whole entire pie instead of taking
Yeah, don't do that. Use 3.14.
Wait, what's pie?
Okay. I honestly, I mean, I've heard of pi. I know what it is. I just don't know, like, its purpose exactly. Like,
know.
I need to find that out because I should know that as a math teacher. All right? All right, let's do one more example. And then we can move on if y'all are feeling good about it. Okay? So what if it gives me a diameter of 9 centimeters and I want to find the area? What do I need to do first? Summer?
A equals R, wait, A equals pi R. A equals R squared.
Okay. That is the formula I'm going to use, but before I can do that, what do I need to do, Taylor? I need to find the radius, right? And you're right. I would divide the diameter by 2, and I would get 4.5 centimeters. Okay? Are we following that? So if it gives you the diameter, before you calculate the area, you've got to find the radius. Okay? Because that's the value that we have to plug in. We can't use the diameter to find the area. Okay? So now, tell me again, what's my area formula?
A equals pi times R squared.
Uh-huh. Okay, what's my value for pi? That we're using. 3.14. What's my radius?
Times 4.5.
Okay? Now I need to do what? I need to square 4.5.
20.25.
Should give me 20.25. Now what can I do? I can multiply 20.25 times 3.14. And when I do that, what do I get?
63.59.
Yes. 63.59 what?
Centimeters squared.
Thank you.
Right,
Okay?
didn't we already do this for it, so we should just eliminate it?
No. We're not squaring the answer again, but remember when we write our units, when we're talking about area, it's going to be our unit squared. Just how we write it. Yeah. I wish I had a better answer for you, but. All right, are there any questions on solving the circumference or area of a circle? Okay? Everybody close your eyes and tell me, close your eyes. Close them. What is the formula for the area of a circle? Tell me out loud. A equals pi times r squared. What is, if you're given the diameter, what could you use to find the circumference?
Oh, you divide pi times d.
Pi times diameter. Okay? What about if you're given the radius? How could you find the circumference?
C equals pi times 2.
2 pi r. Good. All right. Are we feeling good? All right.